I think when I won the Gold Cup, that was the crowning achievement of my whole life.
The unlimited hydroplanes, the powerhouses of boat racing, run for the Gold Cup. This is the one every man in boat racing strives to win, because this is the top
Mic
prize.
check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Microphone check.
Take the lead. And now it's almost completely off the water. The object? A small Tiffany Gold Cup that represents the pinnacle of achievement for the hydroplane racer.
Well, that's exactly right. But speaking of Fast Eddie Guntersville, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Hello, race fans, and welcome to Guntersville, Alabama, on beautiful Lake Guntersville. It is the running of the 112th APBA Gold Cup for H1 Unlimited Hydroplanes. You are watching our show this weekend on the H1 Unlimited YouTube channel. My name is Brad Luce, and I'm going to be working with my broadcast partner diligently this weekend to bring you all of the action that takes place here on one of the fastest 2.5-mile ovals that the H1 Unlimited circuit has to offer. I mentioned my broadcast partner. He is a man that when it comes to H1 Unlimited racing needs absolutely no introduction. You know his name, you know his face. He's been calling H1 Unlimiteds for many, many years. He is from Madison, Indiana. It is my great pleasure to welcome to the broadcast this year Mr. Jeff Ayler. Jeff, welcome to Guntersville, Alabama, and the 2022 APBA Gold Cup.
Brad, good afternoon. Thank you for the wonderful introduction, and we're back at the Gold Cup. We're kicking off the H1 Unlimited season here in Sweet Home, Alabama, Guntersville, Lake Guntersville, and it's going to be a great weekend of racing, Brad, not only with the H1 Unlimiteds, but with the Grand Prix America Series presented by Knighton Industries and the Pro Lights with their series sponsor, Phenom Digital. So lots of action for the fans here at Lake Guntersville. Weather conditions, it's hot and humid. Wind is just fine. Water looks pretty.
The water right now, Jeff, as you just mentioned, looks absolutely perfect. It's better than pretty. And we're getting ready to kick off our first test session of the weekend. It will be open to all three of our classes of hydroplanes that are here to compete this weekend. We are being told to expect the U40, the Beacon Plumbing, with Dave Vilwalk out first. This is a test session. We should be getting some lap speeds. We will relay those as we get them. But, Jeff, before we came on the air, you and I were talking about Gold Cups and how many we've worked together. I think we finally decided and agreed we'd worked on about 10 of these together. But if I've got it right, this is number 13 for you.
It is, Brad. Been blessed. This is my 13th Gold Cup on the microphone, and you and I have done 10, all in Detroit. And I can't wait for this APBA Gold Cup to get underway tomorrow here in Guntersville when we begin closed course racing on this beautiful facility here in Northeast Alabama. This site is meant for boat racing. Boat racing is here. Guntersville loves it. Katie Norton and her team.
My 73-year-old neighbor just cleared 8 inches of snow in her pajamas with this weird piece of crap while I was still looking for my shovel. When Yarglow arrived, I legitimately laughed.
First class.
They are a first-class organization, and they started racing again here in Guntersville in 2018. Katie took over administering this program and getting this race going. Each year, they seem to step it up just a little bit further. And this year, during the off-season, H1 Unlimited awarded them the Gold Cup. for all their efforts. They have taken every extra step. This should really be something special.
Looking forward to it. And Brad, you've been busy on the microphone and streaming. We've had 2 testing sessions for the H1 Unlimited Hydroplanes. The first one on the Columbia River in western Washington State in Vancouver. Good turnout. Maybe down the road, an actual event.
I'll tell you what, that was a good venue. We had a 2-mile race course. Viewing on the front straightaway side was absolutely terrific. The sight lines were very good. People up and down the walkway. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful neighborhood there. They had a great view of the boats on the water, and the fans seemed to really take to it. I'd love to see us down in Vancouver.
And now your neck of the woods in Tri-Cities, Washington, the test a few weekends ago on the Columbia River on Friday. And Brad, the first boat we'll see out here will be the Beacon Plumbing. No doubt on paper, the talk of the 2 testing sessions, the 40.
Yeah, it really is the talk of the 2 sessions. And if I remember it right, they're the only boat that went to both of those test sessions. And the first time they came out, that's right, the U8 was there as well. The U8 struggled a little bit, or at least for those of us watching, seemed to struggle. They had some issues there in Vancouver. They came and ran much better over in the Tri-Cities. But you mentioned Dave Villwalk and that U40 Beacon Plumbing. They're smiling like a Cheshire cat. I don't know if they've got a cat in the bag, but I think they may have a tiger by the tail. I think this U40 is going to be a boat to watch.
I thought it was so fascinating. Dave came back last year at 67 years of age, 67 career wins. Now 68 is win number 68 coming up at 5 o'clock Sunday evening.
And if it is, that will be his 11th Gold Cup championship. He will tie his good friend Chip Hanauer, who sits atop that list already with 11 Gold Cups. That would be huge. But if you saw any of the interviews or the discussions with Dave, what he would really like to do, Jeff Ayler, is get a win for his owner, Kelly and Sharon Stockland, who have never tasted victory in the H1 Unlimited ranks. Oh, what it would mean for Dave to give a win to his owners and then top it off with it being a Gold Cup.
Yeah, Kelly and Sharon have done such a wonderful job with their team. Of course, start out with the 440 bucket list racing. They've elected not to run that craft this year. Reason, Brad? They're concentrating on the Beacon Plumbing, the U40, the sponsor, Bill Cahill, a big part of Unlimited Hydroplane Racing, the H1 Series. He would love his Beacon Plumbing name on the back of a Gold Cup. Of course, Jean Thioret in 2006 won the Gold Cup in the Beacon Plumbing, and Villwalk could get win number 68 here this weekend and tie Chip Hanauer on top with 11 Gold Cups. It is very possible.
And I talked to Dave in the Tri-Cities after the test session, and I asked him again, why are you doing this? Why do you come back? You've won everything, and you've won so much. And he always gives me the same answer, whether we're on the air or off. He always says, we're having fun. And he said, my good friend Kelly Stockland, when I came to him 25 years ago on the Budweiser racing team and we needed his help with our propeller program, he stepped up and helped out because that's what friends do. He said, Kelly called me, and again, that's what friends do, and we're having a good time.
You can see it in Dave's demeanor on the shoreline. He's having fun. But, boy, Brad, last year for the 40 team, it was a struggle here at Guntersville. They struggled, made the final, vaulted to third position overall from the trailer position. Then Madison, the boat ran well, kind of come unhooked in turn one on lap one, got that penalty. And going to the season finale at San Diego, it looked like victory number 68 was there, but was taken away by a gun jump by an eyelash.
5/100ths of a second was what he lost that race for. There was a great picture online. I'm sure you was very close together. We were that close. And you talk about their troubles that they had here a year ago. They never answered the bell for a preliminary heat. They made the trailer position in the final based on their qualifying speed.
And Dave done a great job weaving his way up through the field. And, of course, the defending champion here at Guntersville is the U8 Miss Tri-Cities with J. Michael Kelly in the cockpit. J. Michael Kelly, the 2016 APBA Gold Cup winner in the Graham Trucking. And we're getting a note, Brad, it looks like we're having a problem with the Beacon Plumbing at the dock, understanding having trouble getting a light to that Lycoming turbine engine, that 2,600 horsepower bullet. ran back in the Chinook Vietnam War era.
Yep, back the Vietnam era. These are turbine engines, at least in 6 of our 7 H1 Unlimiteds that we've got here. And maybe, Jeff, while we await the arrival of the U40 out on the race course and them to get their issues taken care of, maybe we can quickly walk through the 7 boats that we're going to have there this weekend, or have here this weekend, to compete for the 112th running of the APBA Gold Cup. And we start with one of the fastest boats that's ever been built. Jeff, I know you know this boat extremely well. It is the U1. It is the Miss Homestreet. And the fans didn't get to see this boat run here last year. Oh, the name was out on the race course, but it was not the powder blue and white boat they're going to see coming here sometime this afternoon.
Yeah, Miss Madison Racing with their #1 boat, they'll say in that camp, Jimmy Shane, the Miss Homestreet. Jimmy with 5 APBA Gold Cups under his belt, tied with the legendary Gar Wood, the first superstar of the sport. Gar Wood claimed his Gold Cups from 1917 to 1921. Jimmy looking for his 6th Gold Cup here this weekend. Brad, you saw this boat test in Tri-Cities. It was flawless. I wasn't surprised.
No, the boat ran really, really well. They changed engines twice. They ran 3 motors. Each one of those 3 motors turned laps north of 165 miles an hour. The boat just looked beautiful on the water. You talk about Jimmy Shane and the fact that he is tied with the legendary Gar Wood with 5 Gold Cups. One of the little notes that I kind of like in that was Gar Wood got his 5th Gold Cup in 1921, and it was Jimmy Shane getting his 5th 100 years later in 2021 in Madison, Indiana.
No doubt, neat stuff, and we've got more stats to pass along to our fans watching on H1 Unlimited via YouTube. Our stat man is here, Nick Kish. He's going to be feeding us some zingers throughout the weekend, and it's good to have Nick on board here this weekend. As Brad, he joined you last year in San Diego, and you had nothing but high accolades for Mr. Kish. He's got those stats. He's got them right on top of the noggin.
I tell you, in San Diego, Jeff, you should have seen it. He had a T-shirt on, just a nondescript Bayfair T-shirt on it, but they took a big piece of masking tape and put it on the front of his chest and wrote Stat Boy on there. And I'll tell you what, when the end of the day came, I turned to the people on the tower, looked at him, shook his hand, and said, I am never doing a boat race without this kid. He was on top of the stats, and of course, when you're at the last day of the year, last race of the year, you've got to worry about who's going to win the national high points. He had all the scenarios covered. Good kid. I'm glad to see Nick Kish here this weekend. You're going to learn to like working with this guy.
Great guy, and I got to call this guy our president. He's the nuts and bolts of the H1 Unlimited stream via YouTube. Tate Meyer spoke to us this morning, Brad. These Gold Cups at N and 2 starting in 62. Bill Muncie, Century 21. Muncie and Atlas Van Lines, 1972. Then Chip Hanauer, Atlas Van Lines in 82. Miss Budweiser, 92. Then Dave Vilwalk steps into the picture in 2012 and 2002. So Gold Cups ending in the #2 in that year. Vilwalk's on track to win this one. He's might be the early favorite.
He might just be the early favorite. And Jeff, we've been waiting for this a long time. I know you have been waiting for this a very long time. We have an H1 Unlimited hydroplane on the water. It is the U40, the Miss Beacon Plumbing, driven by Dave Vilwalk. You were just talking about him. 68 years of age, 67 career victories. He has won and done everything you can do in this sport.
Done it all, and of course, Brad, you remember 1992, won his very first ever Unlimited hydroplane race at Mission Bay in San Diego in the U102.5 Coors Dry. And ever since then, Dave has been a fixture in H1 Unlimited hydroplane racing. Brad, he's going deep up in turn #2, and I expect the wick to be turned up early.
I expect the wick to be turned up early. He's already warmed it up coming all the way across the lake. Dave Vilwalk in the U40, the Beacon Plumbing. He will christen and open the ceremonies here for the 2022 APBA Gold Cup. Vilwalk across the line, and Jeff Haler, we've got a hydroplane on the clock.
Boy, beautiful boat ride into turn #1. Dave Vilwalk driving for Kelly and Sharon Stockland. The U40, Miss Beacon Plumbing, works through turn #1. Brad off that turn, silky smooth through turn 1.
Yeah, real smooth. This is what we saw in Vancouver. This is what we saw in the Tri-Cities. The boat was solid as a rock, and for those of you watching on the H1 Unlimited YouTube channel, you're looking at these water conditions, and they are just absolutely perfect. It's almost glass smooth, almost too smooth, Jeff Ayler, but Mr. Vilwalk's enjoying it.
Up in turn number 2, working well the first time around. We will read testing speeds for you through the H1 Unlimited YouTube channel. Vilwalk coming down to complete his first testing lap on the clock in the U40. This weekend coming. Super boat riding in turn number 1 on this hot, humid afternoon at Lake Guntersville in Guntersville, Alabama. Working through turn 1. Brad will get a speed here momentarily, but I like the ride. They look hot right out of the box.
Well, we were just talking about it. These guys have been smiling. I think they've got something. I think they've got something for everybody. And welcome to Guntersville. Jeff, that's part of his whole local experience is seeing good friends. And how about that, Jeff, right out of the box? First speed of the weekend, north of 160 miles an hour.
160.210, 160.210 for Dave Vilwalk, 10-time APBA Gold Cup champion. Of course, the H1 Unlimited Hydroplanes, Brad, the world's fastest racing boats, 6,700 pound racing vessel, 28-foot length, 14-foot wide. Straightaway speeds capable of up to 200, but in competition here as Vilwalk slows. We saw it last year on the telemetry after the event. J. Michael Kelly in the Miss Tri-Cities was seeing shoot speeds at the end of each shoot at the low 190 mark. They get around here quickly.
Well, if Katie Norton, our event director, was sitting here, she'd just smile and look at you and say, you know what? This is the South's fastest water, and I think Mr. Vilwalk wanted to emphasize the point. Second lap speed, Jeff Ayler, 163.7 miles an hour. That's picking them up and laying them down.
Fast lane and some changes to this boat in the off season. Brad, they got that little fencing I call in the middle of the capsule, and then the very unique looking recess on top of the left sponson toward the back of the sponson, and then also too, not only the recess, but there's a little canard wing on that. When Dave works that front canard, that little canard to the back, it goes in sequence with the big one.
The boats from the stable of Darrell and Vanessa Strong Racing, they had quite a weekend here. A year ago, when they finished 1-2 in the event, it was J. Michael Kelly and the Miss Tri-Cities scoring the victory, and second place went to Corey Peabody. Corey Peabody, as you said, Jeff, he had quite a Saturday last year. He was the top qualifier, as you said. Then we went racing in Heat 1A. He claimed
Mark Webber will be.
Delicious recipes made your way. Hello Fresh.
Runs on the weekend, 2 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday. Brad will have to get back reviewing our Saturday schedule a little bit later because we have an H1 Unlimited hydroplane on the water. Who is it?
it is going to be the U9, the Lynx Healthcare, and Corey Peabody behind the wheel. He was our second place finisher 1 year ago in the race for the Southern Cup. He is away from the dock. He's about halfway across the lake right now. They got a bit of a trek coming across there, but he'll be in front of us momentarily.
I thought they had a good test in Tri-Cities. We mentioned earlier, this boat was the top qualifier here at last year's Southern Cup. Brad, does that provide confidence to this team starting out here in 2022 looking for a Gold Cup, because they know this boat works well on this water?
They do, and I think it really does bode well for both of these boats because, as you said, they both ran very, very well. I remember talking to J. Michael Kelly and Corey Peabody in the Tri-Cities, and they both had the same thing to say, that they loved Madison, but unfortunately that tight course you were talking about there on the Ohio River kind of gobbled both of them up. They like this course here. They can stretch the legs in these things. These boats are going to be someone you're going to have to deal with all weekend.
And that top speed last year in qualifying at Lake Guntersville was 158.623 miles per hour. And Brad, right now, Corey going at a leisurely pace, I think, re-identifying himself with this 2.5-mile oval here at Lake Guntersville. Tagging as the south fastest water, and that's 100% correct.
And they can back it up. You don't have to walk very far, Jeff. Just right behind here, you'll find a former world record holder on display right behind us, and we'll talk about it a lot tomorrow. But for the fans, when they come in, you're going to have to find your way up the start-finish line. Take a look at a real piece of history, that 1962 world record setter, the Miss US with Roy Doobie. We'll get to that. Meanwhile, Corey comes off the lower corner. Not jumping on it just yet, but he will. He's finding his way around, like you said.
The dominant silver with the fluorescent orange effect on the top of the capsule, the top of the cowling, and the canard wing up in the front, Brad. A very valuable tool for the H1 Unlimited hydroplane pilots, that canard wing, which they can adjust inside the cockpit. That left foot pedal, it's not a brake, it's to adjust that canard.
Yeah, it's not a brake. You start pushing that pedal, you want to go a little faster. And Corey certainly knows how to do that. They do drive with 2 feet. They control the gas pedal, then they control that front canard wing, and that addresses how much air goes underneath the boat. Looks like Corey, I thought maybe he was going to put his foot in it there, but I don't think so just yet. But Corey's going to come off the top end of the race course, come down and complete his first lap, albeit a slow one. The U9 Lynx Healthcare. So glad to have them on board with us for our first 3 races.
Corey spotter, Jeff Campbell, right below our position here, Brad, at the start-finish line. And Jeff Campbell has been with this hydroplane for a number of years, and he knows how to make it sing.
He really does. And I want to point out something to our fans that are watching online. We'll talk about it as we go through the weekend, but there were some issues. Some people had a hard time telling the 2 boats apart, the 8 and the 9. It's very easy this year, Jeff. The 8 that you'll see come out here later today, the fairings, the vertical uprights at the back of the boat are bright orange, and it's a much brighter orange than it was a year ago. Very bright orange. They are silver on Corey's ride, the U9. And talk about his ride, the Little Bullet. He's running up the backstretch hard now. Corey Peabody.
And you can tell along the shoreline here visually, and of course watching online, streaming H1 Unlimited via YouTube. Corey Peabody up in turn number 2, and the U9 Lynx Healthcare keeps it in about a lane 1 sequence. Nice turn, works that canard as he'll come down to complete a lap on the clock in testing only for the H1 Unlimited. Here it is, APBA Gold Cup here at the Lake Guntersville HydroPlanes in Guntersville, Alabama. Peabody back into turn number 1 with the big bridge in the background. Brad, it's not a big left-hand sweeper, but it's a little close.
It's still a left-hand sweeper, and I know you'll bring that out this weekend. Just part of the vocabulary that our friend Jeff Ayler loves to use. You're going to hear all kinds of good cliches and one-liners out of Jeff. He's been doing this for a long time. He's got his own very unique style, and it is just more fun than two people are supposed to be able to have when Jeff and I get together on a microphone. Look at Corey, top end of the race course. Slides it out to about lane number 2. It'd be a tight one inside him, but here he comes to put his first hot lap in the books. He turned that first one, just warming up at 136. This one's going to be a whole lot higher than that one. Corey Peabody, Lynx Healthcare, Jeff.
Little walking activity. When we say walking, that's that boat tiptoeing back and forth on the sponsons. Back into turn number 1. Corey, the last time around, 136.388. You see that secondary rooster tail off the skid fin, bolted behind the left sponson. It helps turn the Unlimiteds. And Brad, smooth run. Will he get in the 160 bracket?
We're about to find out. We haven't got that first hot lap speed yet. They're still monitoring the H1 network here. We'll have it very, very shortly. You're watching H1 Unlimited Hydroplanes on the H1 Unlimited YouTube channel. Brad Luce along with Jeff Ayler. It is our first testing session for the 2022 APBA Gold Cup. Jeff, we didn't get the exact speed, but it was in the area of 159, so he's right there.
It's a beauty, 159 plus, and there's that walking activity once again, Brad, and they like that. That way the boat is not stuck to the water. They like that tiptoe activity to free it up as he works back into turn number 1 on this lightning quick 2 1/2 mile course here at Lake Guntersville. Exits the turn. Brad, I think the 9 has come to play. They're looking for the gold.
Yeah, you mentioned that they were the top qualifier a year ago. It was not at 159 miles an hour. It was something short of that. I think they've got to be very happy with the way the boat is running right now. It's a test session. You want to try, and we've got another speed, 159.855 miles an hour. 159.855, Jeff. As you like to say, he's sniffing that 160 mark.
He's sniffing that 160, and he's cranking it up. We'll come down to complete another lap here on the clock in testing only. Corey Peabody, U9 Lynx Healthcare. You can tell right on the throttle a little bit.
Do you have a light or medium duty truck that's got a Duramax or a Power Stroke diesel? If you do, we can handle your repairs. We have factory trained.
By the sound of the Lycoming turbine entering turn number 1, we'll get a time for you. And I think it's a good way to start off the weekend for the 9. And Brad, yes, he is directing the craft back to the pit area, which is a long way from our position here at the start-finish line. And Brad, he did it. 160.568 miles per hour. 160.568 for Corey Peabody. They're aggressive.
They're aggressive. They're also very good. And, you know, one thing we really haven't talked about, we have 7 boats here. Honestly, we say this all the time, and you are guilty of it, and so am I. We overhype the field. Sometimes we can fall into that trap. We can overhype the field and say, wow, there's 6 or 7 boats that can win here. Jeff, there's 6 or 7 boats here that can win this thing.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and say every boat in that pit area in H1 Unlimited will do laps of over 155 miles per hour in testing. Either today or tomorrow, all 7 will be over $155.
I don't think there's any question about it. And we haven't talked about that piston packer that's going to be in there. The Terminator is here for the first time, and you've said it for years, Jeff Ayler. You think this course lays out perfectly for that boat. Ed Cooper's U3. The Griggs presents Miss Ace Hardware. A shout out to Ace Hardware, a shout out to Charlie Grigg for working with Ed Cooper and bringing the 3 down here. Fans, you are in for a treat when the U3 comes out on the water with Jimmy King, and they are a player.
Well, Shane.